GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
More and more people are now tuning in to GB News.
They shape our programmes, we try and incorporate them in our shows as much as we can.
Our audience are really interactive.
Our listeners, our viewers, they're growing.
And that's because they tell their friends and family about what we're doing here at GB News.
It feels like the depth of that connection has strengthened as well.
Thank you so much for speaking to us on GB News.
Come and say hello to everybody that's here from GB News.
It's been an exceptional event.
We've come a long way here now.
What's so unique about GB News viewers is that they really, really love our country.
And they talk about us so proudly. We're on a journey together.
We are here for all of Britain. We believe in this country, we believe in its people, and we believe in all of the communities who live here.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good morning, it's 10 a.m. on Saturday the 15th of August, live across the United Kingdom. This is Saturday Morning Live.
Well, Britain's phones sounded the alarm as wildfires tore across the country. Andy Burnham is urging members of the public not to light fires in Tinderbox, Britain.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister responded by banning disposable barbecues, promising firefighting aircrafts and appointing a dedicated fire minister as fire crews brace for more disruption.
I realised how serious it was when I saw some of the images. Utterly devastating.
Meanwhile, Britain's farmers are being handed a £65 million lifeline after the driest July on record, as the government warns they cannot face the growing cost of extreme weather.
Elsewhere, former Cambridge professor Jason Arday has died at the age of 41, just days after resigning from the university following allegations of plagiarism.
And a new report slams Britain's foreign policy approach to Iran, emphasising that Iranian threats are not a distant problem. Can we regain the influence we once had, or will Britain remain permanently weak on the international stage?
And 4 in 5 Brits believe that Saturday jobs provide an important pathway into work for young people. What is your Saturday job? Do we have enough going? Get in touch, let us know.
The biggest stories, boldest opinions and liveliest debates over the next 2 hours. I'm Olivia Utley.
And I'm Charlie Peters. Your weekend starts here. So glad we are discussing Saturday jobs. Of course, a pretty rare event these days with the national insurance hikes and how difficult it is to hire young people, but they're so important, that pathway.
So important, and a really, really good opportunity for young people to get their first taste of work. I think it's just important sort of to find out what you don't want to do with your life, get a little bit of money, make some money. I think you feel really proud as a teenager actually making some cash. We have a Saturday job, don't we?
Yes, we certainly do. Rather different to what I was originally doing at my Saturday gig.
What were you doing as your Saturday gig?
I was pouring pints, of course. And, you know, when I was a teenager, I remember going to a teacher and saying, oh, do you think I should get an internship over the summer? And it's actually the best advice I ever got from a teacher. He said, you should learn how difficult it is to earn a fiver. That will be way more valuable to you than some internship at a firm or whatever in the city.
Yeah.
And it was. I learned what real hard work was.
Exactly. Very good advice indeed. I worked in a cheese shop, which was, I used to be able to name 104 different types of cheese, and I frequently did. I must have been very interesting at parties as a teenager.
Great. Well, please do get in touch. Let us know if you can name 105 cheeses. gbnews.com/your say.
But before we do anything else, Katie Bowen has all your news headlines.
Charlie, Olivia, thank you and good morning. The headlines at 2 minutes past 10. Andy Burnham has urged members of the public not to light fires in Tinderbox, Britain, ahead of a meeting with farmers whom he warned are at the sharp end of a changing climate. His warning comes after millions received a government-issued emergency alert across England and Wales last night, warning the public against lighting anything that could spark a wildfire, including barbecues, campfires and fireworks. The Prime Minister doubled down on his message yesterday, asking the public to be cautious.
Please, everybody, take the greatest of care. In fact, don't light anything in an outdoor space right now. Britain is a tinderbox right now. And please just have that in your mind. We're going to go into the rest of a weekend that is a difficult weekend. This is not over by any means. We've got 37 fires smouldering around the country, so it could be more. So please bear that in mind.
Well, 19 homes have been destroyed and a further 18 damaged in a huge fire in Stourbridge. There was also a major incident declared in a Welsh town and a fire ripped through a park in East London. This morning, the Prince of Wales paid tribute to the firefighters, emergency responders and volunteers battling wildfires across the country. Prince William said, "Our thoughts are with everyone affected, particularly those who have lost their homes, and with those working tirelessly to protect communities, homes and the countryside." Well, meanwhile, Britain's farmers are getting a £65 million lifeline as drought and extreme heat take their toll on crops and livestock. The new package follows the driest July on record in England and Wales, with money to help farms cope now and invest in measures including reservoirs to protect against future droughts. Andy Burnham says farmers shouldn't carry the risks of a changing climate alone, with the government increasingly treating the resilience of British farming as a question of national food security. Elsewhere, former Cambridge professor Jason Arday has died at the age of 41, just a week after resigning from the university following allegations of plagiarism. The Metropolitan Police said the academic was found unresponsive at an address in Battersea, South London, yesterday afternoon and was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say his death is being treated as unexpected, but is not believed to be suspicious. In a statement issued through his publisher, Mr. Arday's family said they were in shock to have lost an amazing father, partner, brother, uncle and son. They went on to say that the campaign of misinformation was too much for Jason, who was a gentleman and who always wanted to see the best in everyone. University of Cambridge Vice-Chancellor Professor Deborah Prentice said she was desperately saddened, adding that the university's heartfelt sympathies go to Mr. Arday's family at this extremely difficult time. Heathrow Airport has warned that access to Terminals 2 and 3 is currently restricted because of flooding. Water in the central terminal area means anyone trying to travel to or from either of the terminals cannot travel by road. Passengers are instead being advised to travel by rail and tube to avoid using cars. In a statement, Heathrow said, "Our teams are working to resolve the situation as quickly as possible. We apologise for any disruption caused." At least 38 people have died after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake and dozens of aftershocks struck off the eastern coast of Indonesia. Residents were urged to stay away from beaches and riverbanks, with those on the coastline told to move to higher ground. But a tsunami warning has now been lifted. Rescuers around the port town of Momare found 20 dead, 6 injured and 2 trapped under the rubble. Today marks 7 years since PC Andrew Harper was killed in the line of duty. The anniversary comes as more than 1 million people have now signed a petition calling for his killers to be kept in prison. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are due to be released next year, halfway through their 13-year sentences for manslaughter. Andy Burnham says he is turning over every stone to try to stop their early release, with 50 policing leaders also urging him to use every lawful option available. And the BBC has attempted to serve members of Donald Trump's family with legal orders for documents and testimony as it defends against the US president's defamation claim against the broadcaster. The US president is seeking $10 billion in a Florida court over the editing of a Panorama documentary from 2024 about the US Capitol riots. Court filings show that representatives from the BBC's legal team attempted to serve subpoenas to the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., his daughter daughter Ivanka Trump and son-in-law Jared Kushner. They argue that the family members had personal knowledge of his intentions in delivering the speech, making their testimony and documents relevant to the president's defamation claim. The BBC has previously apologised for the Panorama edit, but denied it was grounds for defamation. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Charlie and Olivia.
Thank you, Katie, and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live with Charlie Peters and me, Olivia Utley.
Plenty of you getting in touch on gbnews.com/your say already, talking about the extraordinary exclusive we brought you that Olivia Utley's first job was working in a cheese shop, that she could name 104 cheeses. Many asking, did you ever serve a stinking bishop?
I did serve a stinking bishop. Very nice cheese, that. Very nice. Fruity.
Very fruity. Very different Saturday job you do now, of course. Should we get cracking?
Let's get cracking.
8 minutes past 10, the nation descended into chaos after the government issued an emergency alert system across England and Wales yesterday at 7 p.m.
Yes, fires across England and Wales prompted the government alert, advising people not to light barbecues or anything that could spark a wildfire.
Now, the Prime Minister doubled down on the warning, branding Britain a tinderbox.
Please, everybody, take the greatest of care. In fact, don't light anything in an outdoor space right now. Britain is a tinderbox right now. And please just have that in your mind. We're going to go into the rest of a weekend that is a difficult weekend. This is not over by any means. We've got 37 fires smouldering around the country, so it could be more. So please bear that in mind.
Well, it comes after 19 homes were destroyed and a further 18 were damaged in a huge fire in Stourbridge in the West Midlands. A major incident was declared also in a Welsh town, and a fire ripped through a park in East London.
Andy Burnham has since called on the military to protect the country, appointing Baroness Blake of Leeds as Fire Minister and announcing £65 million in drought support for farmers.
The Prime Minister is expected to say that farmers shouldn't carry the risks of a changing climate alone, with the government increasingly treating the resilience of British farming as a question of national security. Well, let's speak now to arable and livestock farmer Colin Rayner. Colin, good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us. Quite an extraordinary moment, this, isn't it? The Prime Minister coming out to talk about the resilience of British farming. I imagine for farmers like you might say, well, what was the Labour government been doing for the last couple of years when it comes to farming resilience?
Good morning. My first Saturday job was feeding pigs for my father, so that's rather pleasant than doing cheese. The Prime Minister is totally out of touch. A lot of the reason we have these wildfires out of control is because the environmentalists. In my father's time and my career, we used to do controlled burning on our farms to stop fire spreading. And because the environmentalists now want us to plant a 10-metre grass strip around all our fields, this makes every household in the country vulnerable, because we've now got a tinderbox grass next to people's houses. We had 3 major fires yesterday on areas that shouldn't have caught fire if we could still control the burning on our farm. You're also talking about this £65 million he's offering us. I doubt if any of us will see it, because it will have 1,000 strings attached to it. And even if you built a reservoir, the Environment Agency wouldn't give you a licence to fill it. So I have no confidence in our Prime Minister. We didn't need that notice yesterday. The persons catching fire, setting fire to the countryside, are not going to listen to a text. That's going to only encourage them. So I think that message yesterday will spark more fires, because people want to be on TikTok, they want to be on the news. But I do ask residents, and all my neighbours are fantastic people. As I said, we had 3 fires yesterday on our farm in Windsor, and I was notified by residents, and the fire brigade came out and dealt with them. Also, the farmers have been working with the fire brigades to make sure that on our vacuum tankers, we have the same connections as the fire brigade. But some fire brigades haven't been using farmers to help them because of paperwork. There needs to be a national strategy between farmers who have tens of thousands of vacuum tankers that can help in the time of emergency, no joined up thinking. I'm just disappointed in this government, too late, out of touch, don't care about the common man.
Well, it was wonderful to hear yesterday from the fire service in the West Midlands, where that horrific fire ripped through Stourbridge, that farmers were doing so much to help out. And I think you're right about joined-up thinking being necessary. The Prime Minister talks about that 65 million, both to help farmers through this drought and to help them prepare for future droughts. I think lots of farmers who I've spoken to have said £65 million could barely cover one of those things, let alone both. But what should the government be doing to prepare for future droughts? Because we can't have this happening year after year after year. What kind of investment do we need to see in industrial agriculture?
It's not industrial agriculture, it's not investment, it's getting rid of some of these silly policies that we have to abide by to farm in this country. We're not allowed to straw burn anymore. That would take away the residues. When these fires catch hold, there's 50 years of residues that the farmer can't put out. We should be allowed to do control burning. We shouldn't have these grass strips around our countryside. We shouldn't be planting it all back into grass. The reason people mowed grass around posh houses in the 18th century is not because they wanted to, it's to stop the spread of fires. And we need to also have mixed farming. The government is trying to push us down the road of monocultural farming. If we have livestock, we have green, we have green spaces. And it's all down to the farming policy by this government and preceding government, who think they know more about the environment than us, the farmers, have been doing it for centuries.
Okay.
And the government should be ashamed of itself. And the £65 million, there's 65,000 farmers in this country feeding the nation. Just work out how much is that per farmer. And of course, they tax us more. They put a tax on fertiliser. They put a tax on diesel. They put a tax on us producing food for this great nation.
Yeah.
They absolutely hate us, and I couldn't trust them one moment.
OK, I think, Colin, they would obviously dispute the idea that the government hates farmers, but you are yourself, of course, an arable and livestock farmer, and I'm grateful for your insight and perspective this morning. I should say, Olivia, I think interesting that there's been these calls for the army to come in and support. Everyone talks about bringing in AI, having more tech in the military, but actually manpower is what matters, manpower and hardware. They don't have any firefighting helicopters that they are demanding right now. There's some talk apparently in the papers that they're going to ask for helicopters currently based in Cyprus to fly back and help out with all the firefighting, because we just haven't got enough resilience here prepared for this scenario.
Yet another argument for more investment in defence spending. Well, moving on, in other news, former Cambridge professor Jason Arday has died at the age of just 41, a week after resigning from the university following allegations of plagiarism.
Metropolitan Police said the academic was found unresponsive at an address in Battersea in South London.
Continues, he was sadly pronounced dead at the scene and his next of kin have been informed.
The police have said that his death is being treated as unexpected, but it is not believed to be suspicious.
Education Secretary Lucy Powell says she was deeply shocked and saddened by the news. She also urged people to give his family privacy, as real people with loved ones are involved in this situation.
Meanwhile, the University of Cambridge Vice-Chancellor Professor Deborah Prentice said she was desperately saddened. She added the university's heartfelt sympathies go to Jason's family at this incredibly difficult time.
Well, elsewhere, Nigel Farage has won Clacton back, but the investigation that followed him out of Parliament has followed him straight back in.
Yes, the Parliamentary Standards Watchdog is looking at whether the Reform UK leader should have declared a £5 million gift from billionaire Christopher Harben.
Mr Farage says he has not broken the rules, insisting the money was purely personal and used for security. Well, we're joined now by former Labour councillor Simon Greaves. Simon, I think the first question for you is, do you think that Nigel Farage is now regretting calling that by-election 5 weeks ago? I mean, in the words of Theresa May, nothing really has changed, has it?
It hasn't changed at all. I think that those advising Nigel Farage probably will end up looking for different jobs, because this has been a complete own goal strategically for Reform, who have really gone from talking to the country to actually talking to themselves in order to try and secure and prop up Nigel Farage in a by-election that he was always going to win. But actually, this is a ticking time bomb for the party as a whole, who is now reverted to talking to itself as opposed to voters that they need to support to win a general election.
Simon, on this statement that Nigel Farage gave to GB News yesterday in the early hours, saying, I might have signed a piece of paper incorrectly, appeared to basically admit at least some of what has been charged against him. Do you think then he sort of expects this to already go down the route that many are saying it will, that he'll be found to have acted improperly, and that he'll just look forward to winning this all over again? What's the point?
Well, I don't know what the point is. It's been a complete circus for Reform, who have wasted the whole summer tactically, and we now see a shifting position. And it looks to me that Mr. Farage is now looking to accept many of the things that he vehemently denied and disputed only a few weeks ago. Now, I think this will all start to shift very quickly. I think there will inevitably be another by-election later on in the year, in the autumn time. And this is just a monumental problem for Reform now, who are going to struggle to be seen as competent and credible in the eyes of the public that they need on board to win a future election.
It's the Parliamentary Standards Committee which will decide whether or not there will be another by-election. The Reform Party is arguing pretty vociferously that the Parliamentary Standards Committee is biased against Nigel Farage. There are 4 Labour MPs on that committee, 2 Conservatives and 1 Lib Dem, no Reform MPs. Quite a few of them have a history of not being particularly sympathetic to Mr Farage. What do you say to those accusations?
I'd say that the parliamentary procedures have been there for a long, long time. And Mr Farage has known that even before he stepped back into the ring for getting elected in Clacton. And so he knew what the rules of the game were. This is not a rigged process. We've seen investigations into other MPs of all different stripes in the past. There's been no issues. And I understand that there are independent members that also sit on that process, as well as members of Parliament. So this is not biased, this is not rigged. This is a pure spin by Reform, looking to dive out and duck away from the inevitable.
Well, Simon, let's talk about pure spin on this, because I think a lot of people will be sitting back, watching the continued coverage of this process and the amount of energy being put into it by Labour figures and thinking, is this not just a very welcome distraction from many of the crises that the country is facing, and that the Labour government, refreshed with a new Prime Minister, but frustrated by its lack of solutions from some of the problems that are really angering people, for example, the illegal migration crisis that this country's been dealing with for years, that the Labour government is instead choosing to focus so much about something which really, at the end of the day, doesn't necessarily affect anyone's lives in this country in any major manner, whereas they might see 1,200 men being moved into Linton or News and think, that really does concern me, that could be me next?
No, I would say that the Prime Minister and the government are getting on with decisions to improve the cost of living for people, make people's lives better. I think it's interesting that the Prime Minister is spending the summer talking to voters. Reform, as I said, have chosen to speak to themselves over the course of the summer. It isn't actually Labour and the government that are pouring the most oil on this fire. It's actually the right-wing press itself that have, I would say, decided that Nigel Farage has had his time and now there's going to be a change in the future. Okay. That's my view on it.
Well, former Labour councillor Simon Greaves, thank you very much for coming on Saturday Morning Live.
On that point, there is an interesting claim in some of the papers today, Olivia, particularly the Telegraph, saying that the Conservatives are going to ask Labour to stand aside in the next Clacton by-election, should there be one. But let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you say. You're saying, is it all a bit of a distraction? Should we be focusing more on some of the, quote, real problems facing the country? Or do you think Nigel Farage, as Simon says, has had his time?
Well, still to come, a new report slams Britain's foreign policy approach to Iran, emphasising that Iranian threats are not a distant problem. Can we regain the influence we once had, or will Britain remain permanently weak on the international stage.
But next, here on Saturday Morning Live, in the most extensive use of the UK's mobile phone alert system, millions have been warned not to light barbecues and garden incinerators in so-called tinderbox Britain. You're watching GB News, Britain's news channel. See you in a moment.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Saturday Morning Live with Charlie and Olivia. And look,
go on. You crack on. Go on. I'm getting carried away.
Fighting for this. Now to look through the top stories of today, we're delighted to be joined by political commentator Eve McQuillan and former Conservative Minister Tom Pursglove. Thank you both so much for coming on Saturday Morning Live this morning. And I think we should start by talking about that very, very noisy alarm that went off at 7:15 yesterday, telling us not to light outside fires during this heat wave. What did you make of it? Did you think it was a bit of government overreach, or did you think it was a good use of the security system?
Well, I was on a train going out of Victoria Station and everybody was wondering what was going on. And I remember the conversations in government when this system was first designed. And the intention behind it was that it was to be used very, very, very sparingly. It's that sort of war and peace type scenario that this is to be utilised in relation to. What we've seen in parts of the country with these fires is absolutely terrible. But I just think that there are more appropriate methods for government to get the message out about people using common sense, not to be lighting fires in grassland areas or in gardens. Nobody wants to see these fires. They're not good. They're causing a lot of damage, a lot of distress for communities affected. But I think it was an overreaction to use that particular tool and will mean actually that many people will switch this off, which means that in a more serious scenario where there's perhaps an immediate threat to life, people won't be using it.
Eve, in Taiwan, when this stuff happens, it's because there's a missile defence drill or an earthquake. Now we're doing them in Britain because it's a bit warm. Is that a bit mental?
It's a bit more than it's a bit warm, isn't it? And yes, common sense. But as we all know, common sense is not always that common. It can be very helpful for some people to have that reminder. I think if you're switching the emergency alerts off on your phone because you've got one message, that is an example of, common sense not being that common as well. And I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that that is actually widespread.
I mean, I don't know about that. I found that alarm extremely annoying. I was just putting my baby to bed and he was, just going to sleep, and you have this really loud alarm going off, and then he takes another hour to go to sleep. I think lots of mums will have found that problem, and I think lots of other people too, in circumstances where it's can be actually quite terrifying as well to get that alarm. Exactly. And I think people will react by turning that alarm off, and I think that's fair enough from them and a very real risk.
I think, in my life, I've had one of those alerts ever, so it's not something that's happening every week. There is clearly a real risk. We've seen horrible... Andy Burnham was on TV earlier saying there are 37 fires raging across the country. That's really significant. We know that most fires are caused by somebody doing something silly. They have this in other countries, which are much more likely to have a history of forest fires. We're now in this situation where fires are becoming more likely. It's smart of the government to step up and do something like this.
Cost, because we currently apparently don't have enough helicopters for fighting the fires. I mean, I imagine the cost of sending out the alert is quite a strain on the government comm system. Perhaps they could redirect some of the money spent on that and put it towards actually fighting fires.
Well, there will be a surprisingly high cost to doing this, I'm sure, in terms of if those figures were to be disclosed, which no doubt they will in due course. I think people will be surprised at the cost associated with doing that. It's also the unintended consequences, because, as I mentioned, that really high threshold when this was first thought through, we've now established almost this is the baseline. So are we going to see a regular drumbeat at this sort of level with these sorts of alerts being issued? But there's also things like, and this was thought through at the time, you've got people like victims of domestic abuse, where they perhaps have a phone discreetly put away somewhere for an emergency. That will have been exposed in all likelihood yesterday because this has gone off, made all this racket, and so perhaps somebody who is committing domestic abuse within a household environment is now alive to the fact that their partner has got a phone that they saw very much as a safety line for them.
I think only of the poor prisoners who've been hiding their phones in their cells as well. That's obviously a major issue. We have quite a few people getting in touch on gbnews.com/your say. Joanna from Somerset says, my alert went off 3 times. It started around 7. The third woke me up after 10. Completely unnecessary. Quite a lot of them have just been going off repeatedly.
That sounds like an error, though, rather than a problem with alerts.
The alarm is useful for thick people, which I think is extraordinarily very critical stuff. Common sense is lacking.
But I think,
political way of putting
it. Sometimes
it is. These fires are mainly started by people doing very stupid, irresponsible or criminal things. Are they people who are seriously going to be paying any attention whatsoever to the government alarm?
I think the stupid people might be. Criminal people won't be, obviously. That's a separate issue. But actually, if it saves lives, if it saves people's homes, if it stops what happened in Stourbridge, which is awful for those people, then I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, many people getting in saying they've actually switched off the alerts on their phone. Ashley Franklin and David saying they've done that now. Let's move on, Tom, just quickly, Tom, to this story in the Mail. Thousands of jail cells empty while awaiting fire safety repairs. Government obviously has got a major crisis right now with jail spaces and early release. This won't be welcome news, will it?
No, it's terrible, and it's unforgivable if we are, as a country, considering allowing people out a third of the way through their sentence, often having committed really serious crimes. Look at the PC Andrew Harper case and all of the pain and suffering that's causing for the Harper family and all of its impact on policing in terms of recruitment and retention of officers and them just having confidence that government's got their back. When there is potentially 1,800 cells, that it cannot be beyond the wit of man to get the technology put into those cells to get them back operational as quickly as possible. Ministers should be red teaming this every single day with officials, working out how we bring that number down as quickly as possible to minimise, if they're going to have this early release, how you minimise that. There's other things I think they should be doing that we've talked about on the channel before. There are some other things they should be doing that are far better than the policy position that they currently have. This is unforgivable and inexcusable.
What do you think, Eve?
I think I agree it's unforgivable. It's inexcusable, but I think it points to a bigger issue of why does nothing in Britain work? Why can't the government do stuff? We had Keir Starmer just before he stood down saying you pull a lever and nothing happens, and that's what we see. So who are the contractors involved? Why are they getting away with nothing happening for 2 years? Dartmoor's been closed for 2 years, apparently due to issues with a private contractor. Why is that happening? What's going on with the procurement? Why aren't people on top of this?
OK, Tom Pursglove, Eve McQuillan, thank you very much for your time. We'll see you in the next hour.
Well, but first, let's get your news headlines from Katie Bowen.
Good morning. The headlines at 10:33. Andy Burnham has urged members of the public not to light fires in Tinderbox, Britain, ahead of a meeting with farmers whom he warned are at the sharp end of a changing climate. 19 homes have been destroyed and a further 18 damaged in a huge fire in Stourbridge. There was also a major incident declared in a Welsh town and a fire ripped through a park in East London. Former the University of Cambridge professor Jason Arday has died at the age of 41, just a week after resigning from the university following allegations of plagiarism. Heathrow Airport has warned access to Terminals 2 and 3 are currently restricted because of flooding. And at least 38 people have died after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake and dozens of aftershocks struck off the eastern coast of Indonesia. Those are your latest GB News headlines. More from me at 11 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thanks, Katie. Well, still to come here, 4 in 5 Britain believe that Saturday jobs provide an important pathway to work for young people. What was your first Saturday job? You might still have one like us right now.
Well, get in touch and let us know. But next, a new report slams Britain's foreign policy approach to Iran, emphasising that Iranian threats are not a distant problem. Can we regain the influence we once had on the world stage, or will Britain remain permanently weakened?
This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Following another very warm, uncomfortable night for sleeping, it's a humid start to the weekend, but cooler air is on the way. First things first, some showers and thunderstorms to clear eastwards. Then, for much of the UK, it's a dry Saturday. A bit more cloud in the sky for many, but still some sunshine. Now, the one exception, the north and west of Scotland, where showers will rattle through one after the other into the afternoon. Brisk breeze here and feeling on the cool side. Further south, we've still got temperatures widely in the mid-20s and that humid feel, with temperatures reaching 29 or 30 Celsius in the extreme southeast. That's where the heat lingers. But that heat is clearing. It could spark the odd shower into the evening. Otherwise, it's simply a dry Saturday for many places. Sunny spells continuing into the evening. Warm but not oppressively hot. And this fresher feel for many northern and western parts of the UK in particular. A lot of cloud for Northern Ireland into Scotland. We've still got those showers coming and going for the north of Scotland primarily. And they'll continue overnight. But further west, there's another system knocking on the door. That's going to bring thickening cloud into Northern Ireland, western Scotland, eventually Irish sea coast, and some dribs and drabs of mostly light rain. So not a soaking, but certainly more mixed by the start of Sunday. Another warm night to come towards the southeast, much cooler towards the northwest. And we do have this less humid air making inroads from the northwest to the southeast throughout the weekend, so gradually becoming less humid and feeling a little fresher, but still some warmth coming through with sunny spells for many parts of the south of the UK. No meaningful rain in the south this weekend, but there is a chance of some rain at least in the south middle of next week.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. And a new report argues that Britain's response to the Iran crisis and the war earlier this year has revealed in explicit terms decades of institutional decay in British foreign policy making.
Yes, this is from the Policy Exchange think tank. They've argued that our inactive foreign policy left Britain sidelined at a moment when its historical ties to the Gulf should have given it real influence.
Yes, the report also claims that Tehran's threats to Britain are not distant, instead suggesting that there is a very real threat already on our streets.
Well, the Iranian journalist Mani Bashazad joins us now in the studio. Mani, thank you very much for joining us today. This threat that we are facing from Tehran, outlined in this report, is quite grave in how it's expressed. What do you make of the report's findings?
There's a quote by Lord Salisbury, which conservatives love. Whatever happens will be for the worse. And it's therefore in our interest that least would happen. Lord Salisbury said that about the Persian affairs in December of 1876. But sadly, it's still true. Anything that is happening is becoming worse. Just three examples. As the Director General of MI5 said, from the year 2022 to the year 2025, more than 20 plot attacks have been disrupted by MI5, which they were backed by Iran. The second thing that we have is they have their forces inside this country, and they're abusing the charity system in this country because the charity law in the UK was designed for British charities, not for state actors. They're abusing that, and they're having these so-called Islamic centers all around London, which the manager of those places is chosen by the Supreme Leader of Iran. And the third problem that you have with Iran is that it's a domestic problem. Mojtaba Khamenei, which is now the so-called Supreme Leader of Iran, which is running one of the world's biggest terrorist groups called IRGC, based on EU law, based on UK law, based on United States law, has a real estate empire in London. This would never happen in the United States. And that's not something out of our control. We could just, in my opinion, seize his assets. And the threat that they're creating for the British people in this country, it's not only for British people in this country. Let's look at Dubai. During the war, they bombed Dubai, and they only attacked civilians. 250,000 British people are in Dubai. The second of all, the Jewish community in this country is always under attack in North London from Iran-backed plots. And the other thing is the Iranian diaspora. So Ali Ansari wrote a good piece for Spectator this morning, which he basically said Britain has buried its head in the sand, and they wish Iran just says, we don't care about them. But it's not the same thing. Iran cares about Britain because they fundamentally, ideologically, don't like the way of life that we have in this country, the Western, modern way of life. And so the problem has been this short-term thinking, short-term crisis management toward Iran, which the British government has had, I would say, even from 1979. Let's not forget, Margaret Thatcher and the Queen Elizabeth wanted the Shah to come to the UK. It was the civil service who stood against them. What was their reasoning? They said the same thing would happen for the British embassy that happened for the United States embassy. But we see today, there's not a big Iran threat in the United States, but there is a big one in the UK. And that's the product of this short-term thinking.
I mean, you make a very compelling argument, but in terms of actually how Britain should have behaved differently, for example, at the start of this Iran war, I mean, lots of people in this country were against the war, and actually events have sort of proved them right. Donald Trump seems to have failed in his aims of removing the regime or actually doing anything at all to weaken the regime in Iran. Do you think Britain actually should have behaved differently in this specific war?
So in this specific war, there are two types of action that you could make. The first one was joining the war, which based on what the British people want, that wasn't the right decision to do. The second thing was just threatening the IRGC's threat and the Iran threat inside this country, not joining an international war outside of the British soil, but threatening the threat inside the country, like the Iranian embassy, like the Islamic centers that they have. And I think it's quite something that is separate toward the war. I think the main problem with Donald Trump is he's a good risk taker, but he doesn't stick to his decisions. And from the start of the war, one day he said we are going to do regime change. The other day he said, no, we are just going to have the Venezuela model in Iran. And the main problem with Trump's strategy toward Iran war was he said it's going to be a campaign of 2 months, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Imagine you're the Iranian side, and you know this is going to be a short-term war. You say, okay, I'm just going to survive. I'm just going to do anything to survive, then everything is going to be fine. The thing about the 12-day war that happened last year was this element of surprise. The Islamic Republic wasn't ready. And that got the real damage on their power. But this war, I think Trump didn't follow the good strategy for this regime.
Mani Bashazad, thank you very much for your time this morning. I think, Olivia, it's interesting having this discussion 5 years since the fall of Kabul now. And this report talks about Britain focusing perhaps too much on soft power, but not having the hardware to back it up. Talk's a big game, but then when push comes to shove, we're sort of nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, lack of long-term thinking. Well, the GB News has approached the Foreign Office for comment.
Well, still to come here, just how important is a Saturday job as young people consider their next steps after A-level results. Retailers warn employment reforms could put those Saturday jobs at risk.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's not just the UK where the heatwave comes to an end this weekend. Sunday's going to be much cooler across a large swathe of Europe compared with the week that has just been. And I'm talking about much of France, into Germany, Italy as well. It's been so hot recently, cooler air will be welcome news for many. There'll be thunderstorms, very lively thunderstorms through Central Europe, especially the Alps. They'll then move into Croatia and Greece throughout much of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Morris, tell us exactly what is going to happen here this evening.
So what we have this evening as part of the wider FLAD Coming to Belfast programme is essentially 2 hours of Northern Irish Unionist Ulster Scots culture, dance, tradition and music. So we'll have got about a cast of 200, and like you said, we're covering flute bands, traditional fife and drum with lambeg drums. We've got a piper in there as well, a couple of Highland dance groups. We've just seen one rehearse there, absolutely fantastic, and some drum music from County Armagh as well. So it's 2 hours to do an absolute broad brush off the entire culture, and whenever you're trying to piece a show like that together, 2 hours just isn't enough.
Of course, you yourself spent a lot of time as a drum major outside this, didn't you? I mean, you served.
Yes, I did. I spent 23 years in the household division. I originally joined the Irish Guards, transferred to the Scots Guards.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Former NBA player Royce White says he's declaring for next year's women's NBA draft, claiming he now identifies as a female for the purpose of playing professional basketball. There he is on your screens. He's 6'8", he's massive, he's built like a brick, you know what. He's the former first-round pick in the NBA, which if you're not familiar with what the NBA is in the draft, basically when he was playing, he was all the NBA team's first choice for them to join his team. He was a quality player. He says he'd be unstoppable in the women's NBA and has vowed to use the women's changing room if allowed to compete. White, who is seeking the Republican Senate nomination in Minnesota, says he wants to expose what he sees as flaws in transgender inclusion rules in women's sport. And it all comes after former NBA star Enes Kanter, Freedom, also announced plans to declare for the 2027 women's NBA draft as well.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Fury over a royal funeral planned for shamed Andrew. Should he get a royal funeral?
Emphatically not. He is a private citizen. He lost his HRH, title of prince, and also stepped down from numerous patronages. He's being, of course, as we all know, investigated by the police. The facts of the matter are that he is in disgrace. As a private citizen, he should most emphatically not get a royal ceremonial funeral. This is a matter for the Cabinet Office of the Royal Household. I can only presume that it's something that they haven't attended to, because there would be public outrage. The last YouGov poll last month, his popularity is 2%. You can't get worse than that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. And 4 in 5 Britons believe Saturday jobs provide an important pathway into work for young people. The British Retail Consortium is calling on the government to ensure employment reforms don't make it harder for retailers to create these opportunities.
Well, it comes as youngsters across the country are deciding their next steps into the world of work following A-level results day this week. We're joined in the studio to discuss this by the City editor at City AM, Simon Hunt. Simon, good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us. I think there'll be plenty of people watching at home reminiscing about their Saturday jobs and worrying that the institution might be sort of slipping away.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Saturday jobs are a huge part of joining the employment life, of starting your career for a young person. 1 in 4 young people work in retail Saturday jobs, for example. And yet it looks under threat now because of a suite of different policies introduced by the government, including things like equating minimum wages of teenagers with older workers, which makes it much less attractive to hire young people, and at the same time lowering the requirement of offering full employment to someone who's on a 0-hours contract. And from the perspective of a lot of employers, if you're hiring a young person, someone who's 18, 19, it's probably their first job, you're taking a bit of a punt on them. You don't know how well they're going to do. It's high stakes. And so making the barriers towards offering them a job even higher will just make some employers think it's not worth the risk.
Is there any data on to what extent this is a problem, that employers are finding it harder because of government reforms to employ young people, and to what extent young people just aren't applying for Saturday jobs in the way that they used to?
Well, I mean, certainly we do know that youth unemployment is at its highest that we've seen in years in the UK. It's now some of the worst in Europe. And at the same time, there was the government's own internal analysis published earlier this week that suggested some employment law reforms that it's considering could cost as much as £3 billion to employers. So it's pretty plain how severe the pain will be to employers if these do go ahead.
Now, Simon, you deal with press releases and statements from lobbying groups and various chambers all the time at City AM. How serious do you think this statement is from the British Retail Consortium in terms of that message being direct to the government saying, basically, you're putting this institution at risk? And do you think it's the sort of response or direction coming out of the BRC that might give the government some pause?
I do wonder whether now we have a new Labour government, whether they might reconsider some of these reforms. But I think the words that are coming out of the BRC are very serious. And we're not just hearing it from those sort of bodies, institutional bodies, we're also hearing it from major employers themselves. I mean, often big companies hesitate before they criticise the government, before they're rude about politicians. But actually, the past few months, we've heard some quite rude things said by CEOs, and they only do that when they really feel there is a serious problem.
I mean, with a Labour government, and Andy Burnham is a very close ally of Angela Rayner's. These were her reforms that went through. Obviously, the Labour Party is still very, very linked to lots of major unions. Do you think there is really any prospect of changing any of these laws while Labour is in power?
I mean, I wouldn't bet on it, but I certainly do think there is more of an alertness to the severity of the youth unemployment crisis that we have at the moment. And I think it won't be a case of repealing any particular law that they're looking to introduce. It might be a case of just softening the terms a bit to soften the blow on a lot of employers.
Simon, there's focus quite rightly on the importance of these institutions, Saturday work and getting young people their first experience of work. But it always seems to be missing from the conversation when we talk about this is the impact essentially of mass immigration. If you have lots of cheap labour, people willing to work those jobs, not recognising why it might provide value for young people just getting into work for the first time. Do you think as more and more sort of lobbying groups and CEOs come out to speak against this, they may also include that as their criticism to get some action over the line, as you've just indicated? The Labour government probably quite happy just to ignore this to some degree.
Well, I mean, certainly, historically, the major employers have been in favour of having higher immigration purely because it lowers their sort of cost burden from their perspective. But it is certainly the case that as we see unemployment creep up, we were also at the same time seeing the number of graduate jobs being offered to young people go down. There's the sort of creeping spectre of automation, a lot of entry-level jobs being automated. So the labour market is just getting way more competitive, both from people here who want to compete for jobs being offered in the UK and outside.
Well, Simon Hunt, City Editor at City AM, thank you very much for joining us on Saturday Morning Live. Time now for the Great British Giveaway, and you have just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to win £60,000 in cash and a golden bar in our summer celebrations. Here are all the details.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner and join our exclusive list of giveaway champions. First of all, we want to give you a ton of tax-free cash. £60,000 in tax-free cash that you could use however you like. Treat your family, treat your friends, or treat yourself to a luxury 5-star holiday somewhere like here, all as Santi by Domes Resorts. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, folks. Right, plenty more coming up in the next hour here on Saturday Morning Live. Make sure you don't go anywhere. See you in a moment.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Another very warm and humid day across the south, possibly seeing some showers here later. Otherwise, it's another dry day for most, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure which is building from the west. Slight change in our wind direction as well, meaning for most areas it's not going to be quite as warm as some of the temperatures that we have had this week. A bit more cloud around perhaps, certainly across many northern areas. A few showers skirting their way eastwards across parts of Scotland, but otherwise mostly dry, plenty of sunshine, especially across the south. So still very warm here, temperatures in the high 20s, possibly even 30 degrees across the very far southeast, but otherwise temperatures more towards average for this time of year. Now, to finish off the day, there'll still be quite a few showers moving their way eastwards across Scotland, mostly light to moderate, and it should be largely dry across the far south of Scotland. The odd shower perhaps still across parts of Northern Ireland, otherwise mostly dry here, similar across northern parts of England, though probably quite a cloudy end to the day. Clearer skies across elsewhere in England and Wales, but still just the potential for the odd shower across the southeast to finish off the day. A chance we could hear some rumbles of thunder. If we do see any showers in the southeast, they're clear away, and it will turn dry for many areas. That's away from the west, though, and further outbreaks of rain starting to push through here, so turning rather wet across parts of Northern Ireland, Scotland, northern parts of England and Wales as we head towards Sunday morning. And for all, it's not going to feel quite as warm and muggy overnight, so we're certainly going to notice a slightly cooler, fresher feel as we head our way into Sunday. Another difference on Sunday is it's probably going to be a bit more of a cloudier picture. This cloud will be thick enough to produce some spells of rain at times, certainly across the north. But still, once again, many areas of England and Wales by the afternoon will be mostly dry, with some bright, if not sunny spells. Temperatures down by a degree or two, so not feeling quite as warm in the south.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very, very easy tonight on the
unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
It's 11 o'clock on Saturday, the 15th of August, live across the United Kingdom. This is Saturday Morning Live.
Well, Britain's phones sounded the alarm as wildfires tore across the country. Andy Burnham is urging members of the public not to light fires in so-called tinderbox Britain.
Yes, the Prime Minister responded by banning disposable barbecues, promising firefighting aircraft and appointing a dedicated fire minister as crews brace for more disruption.
I realised how serious it was when I saw some of the images. Utterly devastating.
Meanwhile, Britain's farmers, they're being handed a £65 million lifeline after the driest July on record. The government has warned that they cannot face the growing cost of extreme weather.
Elsewhere, former Cambridge professor Jason Arday has died at the age of 41, just days after resigning from the university following allegations of plagiarism.
And there's been a court...
With today's guilty plea, Mr. Mangione has accepted full responsibility for the death of Brian Thompson.
And a D-Day veteran who stormed the beaches of Normandy under enemy fire is celebrating his 102nd birthday while paying a touching tribute to his beloved wife, Flo. The biggest stories, boldest opinions and liveliest debates over the next hour. I'm Olivia Utley.
And I'm Charlie Peters. Your weekend starts here.
Absolutely incredible story. That 102-year-old veteran who stormed the beaches at Normandy. We're seeing these wonderful stories now. I think people are treating these veterans treating them like gold, knowing that we probably don't have that long left while World War II veterans are in living memory.
Yeah, the greatest generation, rightly known as such. And please do get in touch if you have memories or family members who fought on D-Day, or perhaps you have a reflection of that generation that you'd like to share. Please do get in touch, gbnews.com/yours. Say plenty of you getting in touch, letting us know what your Saturday jobs have been after Olivia shared that she used to work in a cheesemonger
which is a pretty fun gig to be doing.
It was a very fun gig to be doing. Yeah, I enjoy lots of your Saturday jobs. There's also some quite glamorous ones. Someone who sang at choirs for weddings. I wish I'd been doing that when I was 18.
It's not bad. Can't all be cheesemongers. What other monger jobs are there? There's fishmongers, ironmongers, firemongers. They're all out there. Well, yes. Thanks for getting to the programme today. Before we do anything else, Katie Bowen has all your news headlines.
Charlie, Olivia, thank you and good morning. The headlines at 11:02. Andy Burnham has urged members of the public not to light fires in Tinderbox, Britain, ahead of a meeting with farmers who he warned are at the sharp end of a changing climate. His warning comes after millions received a government-issued emergency alert across England and Wales last night, warning the public against lighting anything that could spark a wildfire, including barbecues, campfires and fireworks. The Prime Minister doubled down on his message yesterday, asking the public to be cautious.
Please, everybody, take the greatest of care. In fact, don't light anything in an outdoor space right now. Britain is a tinderbox right now. And please just have that in your mind. We're going to go into the rest of a weekend that is a difficult weekend. This is not over by any means. We've got 37 fires smouldering around the country, so it could be more. So please bear that in mind.
Well, that says 19 homes have been destroyed and a further 18 damaged in a huge fire in Stourbridge. There was also a major incident declared in a Welsh town and a fire ripped through a park in East London. Well, this morning, the Prince of Wales paid tribute to the firefighters, emergency responders and volunteers battling wildfires across the country. Prince William said our thoughts are with everyone affected, particularly those who have lost their homes and with those working tirelessly to protect communities, homes and the countryside. Meanwhile, Britain's farmers are getting a £65 million lifeline as drought and extreme heat take their toll on crops and livestock. The new package follows the driest July on record in England and Wales, with money to help farms cope now and invest in measures including reservoirs to protect against future droughts. Andy Burnham says farmers shouldn't carry the risks of a changing climate alone, with the government increasingly treating the resilience of British farming as a question of national food security. Elsewhere, former Cambridge professor Jason Arday has died at the age of 41, just a week after resigning from the university following allegations of plagiarism. The Metropolitan Police said the academic was found unresponsive at an address in Battersea yesterday afternoon and was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say his death is being treated as unexpected, but not to be suspicious. In a statement issued through his publisher, Mr. Arday's family said they were in shock to have lost an amazing father, partner, brother, uncle and son. University of Cambridge Vice-Chancellor Professor Deborah Prentice said she was desperately saddened, adding that the university's heartfelt sympathies go to Mr. Arday's family at this incredibly difficult time. Heathrow Airport has warned that access to Terminals 2 and 3 is currently restricted because of flooding. Water in the central terminal area means anyone trying to travel to or from either of those terminals cannot travel by road. Passengers are instead being advised to travel by rail and tube and to avoid using cars. In a statement, Heathrow said our teams are working to resolve the situation as quickly as possible, and they apologised for any disruption caused. At least 38 people have died after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake and dozens of aftershocks struck off the eastern coast of Indonesia. Residents were urged to stay away from beaches and riverbanks, with those on the coastline told to move to higher ground, but a tsunami warning has now been lifted. Rescuers around the port town of Mamere found 20 dead, 6 injured and 2 trapped under the rubble. Today marks 7 years since PC Andrew Harper was killed in the line of duty. The anniversary comes as more than 1 million people have now signed a petition calling for his killers to be kept in prison. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are due to be released next year, halfway through their 13-year sentences for manslaughter. Andy Burnham says he's turning over every stone to trying to stop their early release, with 50 policing leaders also urging him to use every lawful option available. And the BBC has attempted to serve members of Donald Trump's family with legal orders for documents and testimony as it defends against the US president's defamation claim against the broadcaster. The US president is seeking $10 billion in a Florida court over the editing of a Panorama documentary from 2024 about the US Capitol riots. Court filings show that representatives from the BBC's legal team attempted to serve subpoenas to the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., his daughter Ivanka Trump and son-in-law Jared Kushner. They argue that the family members had personal knowledge of his intentions in delivering the speech, making their testimony and documents relevant to the president's defamation claim. The BBC has previously apologised for the Panorama edit but denied it was grounds for defamation. Those are your latest GBNews headlines. Now it's back to Charlie and Olivia.
Thank you, Katie, and welcome back to Saturday Morning Live with Charlie Peters and Olivia Hartley.
Well, the nation descended into chaos after the government issued an emergency alert system across England and Wales at 7 p.m.
God, that's an awful noise, isn't it? Well, fires across England and Wales prompted the government alert, advising people not to light barbecues or anything that could spark a wildfire.
The Prime Minister doubled down on the warning, branding Britain a tinderbox.
Please, everybody, take the greatest of care. In fact, don't light anything in an outdoor space right now. Britain is a tinderbox right now. And please just have that in your mind. We're going to go into the rest of a weekend that is a difficult weekend. This is not over by any means. We've got 37 fires smouldering around the country, so it could be more. So please bear that in mind.
Well, the emergency alert warning comes after 19 homes were destroyed and a further 18 damaged in a huge fire in Stourbridge in the West Midlands. A major incident was also declared in a Welsh town and a fire ripped through a park in East London.
Andy Burnham has since called on the military to protect the country, appointing Baroness Blake of Leeds as Fire Minister and announcing £65 million in drought support for farmers.
The Prime Minister is expected to say that farmers shouldn't carry the risks of a changing climate alone, with the government increasingly treating the resilience of British farming as a question of national food security. Well, we're joined now by the arable farmer Andrew Ward. Andrew, good morning to you. Thank you very much for your time. Very sorry to have played out that emergency alert noise again. I'm sure you had quite enough of that yesterday evening. But what do you make then of this £65 million announcement? We heard a different farmer in the last hour, Colin Rayner, saying that the government just doesn't care about farmers.
Yeah, morning, Charlie. Morning, Olivia. Thanks for having me on. He's quite right. I mean, it's just too little too late, because the government have been absolutely on the wire the whole time they've been in Parliament, trying to destroy an agricultural industry. We've got the inheritance tax issue that still hangs over us, and that really has to go. And the government just are now trying to play catch up. And yes, it was Keir Starmer's government that did a lot of damage, but a lot of it's the party that are still there doing the damage. And this announcement has come. Yes, it's welcome, but it's just a drop in the ocean, because the amount of money that we are losing as an industry is absolutely catastrophic. And don't forget, we are trying to feed people and put food on tables, and yet we are losing money doing that. It just cannot carry on.
Andrew, this £65 million, do we know if that is new money that's being allocated by the government, or is it just sort of tinkering around the edges, taking money from elsewhere?
Well, you're absolutely quite right, because I did see something this morning. I've been trying to find out before I came on here whether it is new money or not. And some people say, no, it's not new money. It's been siphoned out of somewhere else, so something else is going to suffer. So that is something that's up in the air at the minute. We're not too sure on where that source is.
Now, when you look at this £65 million, Andrew, and you think about what they're saying about drought support, what sort of support do you actually want from the government? Is it more subsidy and cash chucked at you, or is it regulation and limitations taken away from you, in fact?
Well, there's lots of things there, actually, Charlie. And I think one of the big things at the moment is that they're on about going back into the EU and aligning with the EU. Well, if that happens, we will have a huge number of plant protection products taken away from us. Because over the last few years since we left the EU, the UK have been really upfront and really strong in getting new products to the market. yet because they're not approved in the EU, we won't be allowed to use them. And so at the minute, if all this happens and this alignment with EU happens, we're going to be putting a crop in the ground this autumn, but then potentially we might actually not be able to sell that crop because it's been grown with products that the EU doesn't have. So, I mean, the whole thing really is just not really right at the minute, and we just need to look at the whole food system. And I think at the moment, the EU story, we've heard Andy Burnham say they want to go back in the EU, so we shall just have to see whether that happens or not.
Makes a bit of a mockery of that huge vote just 10 years ago. Andrew, I mean, this doesn't seem to be enough cash. Could there be something that the government could do, quite an easy measure? Would it help if the government launched a big Buy British campaign? Obviously, for food security, it would be much better if more people were buying British, and yet neither customers nor businesses seem to be listening to that message.
No, they don't. You're right. And we've had this for a long while, though, about saying that everybody must support farmers and buy British. And a few years ago, even the Conservatives brought out the grocery code adjudicator, where we had to look at the supermarkets and try and see what's happening there and what the problems are. But that really didn't come to anything. And this is the problem we've got. And at Christmas time, we all see it where vegetables are taken or sold at pence per bag, which is way, way below the cost of production. And we just can't carry on like this.
OK, Andrew Ward, arable farmer, thank you very much for your time this morning, joining us live from Lincolnshire there. I have to say, Olivia, calling in the military to help out with the fires, I think it's all well and good, and if it has to be done, it has to be done. But there are plenty of people getting in touch, gbnews.com/your say, saying, why aren't the military being called in for other national crises? Why do we have the small boats crisis, where the military aren't called in to deal with that? It's a national security issue. Or indeed, when you're thinking about people being rehoused in former military bases, they're not detained there. They're allowed to go out. There's no patrolling. There's no, step up of military assistance to a civilian authority in those areas. I think people are right to ask those questions.
And the answer is probably that the military has been underinvested in for so long now. We just don't have an army fit to respond to all these different challenges at the same time. And we know that is a huge problem for this government.
Big time. Right, it's 14 minutes past 11. Moving on now, the former Cambridge professor Jason Arday, he died at the age of 41. That's just a week after resigning from the university following allegations of plagiarism.
The Metropolitan Police said the academic was found unresponsive at an address in Battersea in South London.
He was pronounced dead at the scene and his next of kin have been informed.
Police say his death is being treated as unexpected but is not believed to be suspicious.
Tributes have been pouring in from around the country. The Education Secretary, Lucy Powell, saying that she was deeply shocked and saddened by the news.
She also urged people to give his family privacy as real people with loved ones are involved in the situation.
We've also heard from the University of Cambridge's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Deborah Prentice. She said she was desperately saddened and added that the university's heartfelt sympathies go to Jason's family at this incredibly difficult time.
Well, in other news, Nigel Farage has won Clacton back, but the investigation that followed him out of Parliament has followed him straight back in.
Yes, the Parliamentary Standards Watchdog is looking at whether the Reform UK leader should have declared a £5 million gift from billionaire Christopher Harben. Mr Farage says he has not broken the rules and insisted that the money was purely personal and used for security.
Well, we can now speak with Reform leader of Lincolnshire County Council, Sean Matthews. Sean, thank you very much for joining us on Saturday Morning Live. I mean, there are those arguing, Sean, that this whole by-election was a bit of a waste of time and taxpayers' money. Very little has changed. £250,000 of taxpayers' money has been spent. This investigation will carry on, and we may well be facing yet another by-election in the second half of this year. What do you make of that?
Well, I actually don't think that will happen. I genuinely think that the people of Clacton will turn around and say, we've done this and we're not going to be bothering with a recall, which is what's required. 10%, I think it is, of the electorate needs to step up and call for a recall to Parliament. That is assuming that if the complaint against him is upheld and the parliamentary party... the parliamentary ombudsman, or whatever they're called, looks into it and says, actually, what he did was so bad that we're going to ban him for 10 days or more. If I'm honest, if he did it then it's a misdemeanor and he forgot to fill out a form or he forgot to mention something that he thought was private. So for Parliament to turn around and then say, no, it's so bad you need to be banned for 10 days, I think would be absolutely ridiculous. My personal view is it will not come to that. He'll probably get a rap on the wrist and told, in future, declare these things. But, and if it did go to it, then I genuinely don't think he'll get the numbers for a recall, and it will just crack on. And we'll look forward to the general election, which I hope is very, very soon.
Sean, when you walk around in Lincolnshire and you speak to people who are supporters of Reform UK, those who are not, how often is this coming up on the doorstep, this £5 million? And when it is coming up, where do people rank it in terms of importance alongside the cost of living, economic downturn and illegal migration?
Well, look, people like Andrew Ward, I know Andrew really well, who was just on the show. It's great to see Lincolnshire being represented so much today. People don't care about this, genuinely do not care about it. The only people that care about it are those people that hate reform. And it's the mainstream media, the blob, as it were, of Labour and the Conservatives getting together and going, we are terrified of reform. They know that we are going to win the next general election and they are doing everything they possibly can to stop us. That £5 million, if you think about it, that £5 million is completely legitimate, but every time you hear one of the Labour Party or the Kemi Badenoch's crew talking about it, it's as if he's stolen the money from somebody. He was given that money legitimately. If he did anything wrong, it wasn't declaring it. Now, that to me, and for the people of Lincolnshire, is completely irrelevant. They don't care. They don't pay any attention to that sort of stuff. What they care about is what's happening in Lincolnshire, which is Reform doing a really good job looking after the people of Lincolnshire.
Sean, can you just quickly talk us through how the process works from now on? So this is now with the Standards Commissioner. It'll then be referred to the Standards Committee. Talk us through the timelines.
Well, the timelines are a matter for them, so I don't know when it will be. But what will happen is the decision will be made whether he's committed anything, he's done anything wrong, and then a decision will be made what the outcome of that will be. And I genuinely, I don't think it will be a serious issue. There might be a rap on the wrist, and that will be that. Because otherwise, all the people that in the past have done these things, like the Deputy Prime Minister, for example. Where do they stand when they're being put forward and being told that, yeah, you can be a convicted fraudster and be Deputy Prime Minister?
Sean, just very quickly before I let you go and fix the flickering light behind you, sorry to let you know about that. Just very quickly, Sean, there's some reporting in the papers today saying that if there is another by-election, that the Conservatives have said Labour should not stand a candidate. Do you think the same thing might happen and they might not put up candidates again?
Just shows you how terrified they are of us. Honestly, Labour and the Tories getting together to try and stop a legitimate candidate winning a seat. It is absolutely disgraceful. It's gerrymandering, and that sort of stuff should not happen in the UK.
All right, Sean Matthews, Reform Leader of Lincolnshire County Council and hopefully soon to be a part-time Sparky to deal with that flickering light. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Sean. Grateful.
Well, still to come, a D-Day veteran who stormed the beaches of Normandy under enemy fire is celebrating his 102nd birthday while paying a touching tribute to his beloved wife, Flo.
But next, Andy Burnham, he's called up the military to help fight the wildfires currently raging across what he's calling Tinderbox Britain. But will he be able to get the situation under control? This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live, and to go through the papers, we've got political commentator Eve McQuillan and the former Conservative Minister Tom Pursglove with us in the studio. Welcome back, you two.
Good to see you.
Welcome back, very nice to see you. And I think we'll start with a story in the Telegraph, very interesting. Council staff taking twice as many sick days as private sector workers amid a surge in mental health complaints. I mean, what is going on here? Council workers actually have quite a lot of holiday, don't they, compared to private sector workers as well?
It's often quite generous packages. And one of the things that occurred to me when I was reading that story is around, I wonder where home working fits with some of this. Actually, often seeing workers being isolated away from teams, and you have the knock-on in terms of productivity and the creativity of being in a team, being part of something with your colleagues. I wonder if some of that is playing into this. But we're often hearing local governments saying that they haven't got enough funding or they want to put people's council tax up. This, to me, would be a really easy place to go if they're looking to find some savings, making sure people are fit, making sure people are well, and having the right support in place and trying to really reduce down that absenteeism.
The problem is making sure people are fit. I mean, the implication here is 10 sick days a year. They probably are fit in many of these cases, don't you think, Tom? And that might be an issue that they're just shirking.
Well, any workplace should have proper occupational health stuff in place, but you've got to have a sort of environment and a culture that people work in where they're expected to come to work and get on with the job.
Ever pulled a sickie?
Ever pulled a sickie? I'm not going to admit to that on telly. But shocking, never do that. But the point, I think, is, though, in this story, these aren't comparable groups of workers. When we're talking about council workers here, we're talking about social workers, people who work in social care, frontline care jobs, people working with homeless people. That does take a toll on someone's mental health. Mental health, is a real issue. This article also criticises that councils are spending money on mental health first aid. Of course they are. They're trying to make their workforce more resilient. It's not really comparable. And I think when it's used to say that we should defund councils further, when we're seeing a crisis across local government because of the rising cost of social care, which we absolutely have to pay for, we're also seeing crisis because of the rising cost of temporary accommodation. It's a little bit sneaky of the Telegraph to be trying to pin it on council workers who are often doing a really hard job in difficult circumstances.
But, I mean, there are lots of workers in the private sector. I mean, lots of care homes are privately funded, for example, who are also doing incredibly hard work, and they are taking half as many sick days. Don't you think there is a cultural element here that people who are working for councils in the public sector feel it's more acceptable to take sick days?
I think the majority of private sector workers are not working face-to-face with vulnerable people. And I think you'll find that within care homes, there are different issues, but the sick rate is often really quite high. We also want people working face-to-face with vulnerable people to take time off work if they have an infectious illness. We don't want people getting sick because of sick workers. But I don't think it necessarily points to the cultural problem. I think it points to a fact that we need to do more to make our workforce more resilient, but we need to recognise that some jobs are different to others.
Well, in a funner story, well, slightly depressing story actually, on page 3 of the Times, YouGov's survey found that more than a third of Britons reported kissing romantically less often than they had 5 years ago. I thought this was quite astonishing actually. 1 in 5 said they hadn't been kissed in more than a year. That's pretty bad for our mental health, isn't it? Not to be too glib about it.
Of course. I mean, and relationships are really important, aren't they? And one of the things that we're seeing happen, I think, with the younger generation is that they're often putting back things like relationships. But no, that can't be good for people's mental health. Those relationships are really important, aren't they?
Oh, poor Tom Purgler.
Oh,
thinking,
bless you.
if only the 2024 election had gone differently, I might not be here on Saturday morning.
Not at all.
Gen Z.
Not at all.
What do you
Saturday job.
That's a proper Saturday job, that. What do you make then of this survey?
I think the apps have ruined everything, and that is what's the heart of this. I think that people aren't meeting organically in the same way, and people are having these really artificial meetings. They've met off an app, it doesn't work, and that's why so many people are single now. It's sad.
But we also saw that crazy story this week about people queuing in pubs. You know, Gen Z queuing in pubs. No, queuing in pubs to go to the bar, which just feels totally weird to me. And you know, it's self-policing. It's part of our culture, isn't it? You know, you wait your turn at the bar. Everybody knows where it is that they're supposed to come in and get their drink and pay their money to the barman and go and join their friends.
So people are too conversationally awkward, but socially anxious.
Spend too much time looking at phones and tablets.
Yeah, I do think that there's also a bit of a slightly darker element to this as well, that there are Gen Z seem to be sort of sharing, you know, perhaps nude photos of themselves much more readily than generations ago would have done, and yet actually in person are far less willing to enter into those sort of day-to-day, whether it be a discussion or a kiss.
Yeah, I mean, don't share nude photos of yourself, kids, come on. Like, I think it's because of the apps. It's that mediation through the phone, everything's worked out in advance. We don't have these spontaneous organic meetings in the same way anymore.
But I think even if people are meeting through dating apps, the fact that they spend so much time socialising electronically, I think it is leading to a decline in people's ability just to get on and chit-chat.
And COVID...
Chat people up in a normal manner.
And all debate issues, talk about things, talk about problems, talk about the world and try and find solutions.
Dating coach.
It's really that'd be my Sunday job.
Yeah! That'd be a hell of a gig. We've got time for one more. The Prime Minister's favourite chippy. Soaring energy bills must be slashed. That's what they're saying. This is a chippy is down in that London. Apparently. This is Ollie's Fish and Chips Experience in Leafy Herne Hill in South London.
These are exactly the sorts of businesses that are getting battered by the government's choices.
That's a Monday job.
Script writer, joke writer. No, look at it. It's not just energy costs. It's also things like national insurance making it harder to take on, particularly young people, giving them those first opportunities to get into employment because of that jobs tax. Things like business rates. When you take all of that together, it's a really toxic combination for many of those brilliant small businesses that are important in our communities to thrive, and their choices I think the government should reverse. And those businesses pay on average 300% more for their electricity compared to the US, for example.
And, you know, rightly, the focus so far has been on pubs, and the government is starting to talk about help for pubs. But there are so many chippies, hospitality businesses, cafes, shops too, in exactly the same situation. It's going to cost a lot for the government to try and fix the problem.
Yeah, people are struggling, and the word that hasn't been mentioned so far is rents. That is a huge issue for small businesses, rising and rising rents, and we're not seeing enough places developed with business space for small businesses to actually bring those rents down and make the high street thrive some more.
Well, Henry Niatzi, got to be careful how you say that one, he's the owner of the company, he's warned that energy-intensive fish and chip outlets are being hit big time by ever-rising bills. It seems pretty much every business in the game is making the same complaint. I think there's got to be a major solution to it soon.
Well, absolutely, and it probably would be quite expensive. But thank you very much to Tom Purgler and Eve McQuillan. See you very soon.
Right, let's catch up now with the newsmonger, Katie Bowen.
Good morning. The headlines at 11:31. Andy Burnham has urged members of the public not to light fires in Tinderbox, Britain, ahead of a meeting with farmers who he warned are at the sharp end of a changing climate. 19 homes have been destroyed and a further 18 damaged in a huge fire in Stourbridge. There was also a major incident declared in a Welsh town and a fire ripped through a park in East London. Former University of Cambridge professor Jason Arday has died at the age of 41, just a week after resigning from the university following allegations of plagiarism. Elsewhere, Heathrow Airport has warned that access to Terminals 2 and 3 is currently restricted because of flooding. And at least 38 people have died after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake and dozens of aftershocks struck off the eastern coast of Indonesia. Those are your latest GB News headlines. More news at midday.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you, Katie. Still to come here, there's been a court confession.
But next, a 102-year-old D-Day veteran has a special message as the country marks 81 years since VJ Day.
This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. See you in a moment.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Another very warm and humid day across the south, possibly seeing some showers here later. Otherwise, it's another dry day for most, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure which is building from the west. Slight change in our wind direction as well, meaning for most areas it's not going to be quite as warm as some of the temperatures that we have had this week. A bit more cloud around perhaps, certainly across many northern areas. A few showers skirting their way eastwards across parts of Scotland, but otherwise mostly dry, plenty of sunshine, especially across the south. So still very warm here, temperatures in the high 20s, possibly even 30 degrees across the very far southeast, but otherwise temperatures more towards average for this time of year. Now, to finish off the day, there'll still be quite a few showers moving their way eastwards across Scotland, mostly light to moderate, and it should be largely dry across the far south of Scotland. The odd shower perhaps still across parts of Northern Ireland, otherwise mostly dry here, similar across northern parts of England, though probably quite a cloudy end to the day. Clearer skies across elsewhere in England and Wales, but still just the potential for the odd shower across the southeast to finish off the day. A chance we could hear some rumbles of thunder. If we do see any showers in the southeast, they're clear away and it will turn dry for many areas. That's away from the west though, and further outbreaks of rain starting to push through here, so turning rather wet across parts of Northern Ireland, Scotland, northern parts of England and Wales as we head towards Sunday morning. And for all, it's not going to feel quite as warm and muggy overnight, so we're certainly going to notice a slightly cooler, fresher feel as we head our way into Sunday. Another difference on Sunday is it's probably going to be a bit more of a cloudier picture. This cloud will be thick enough to produce some spells of rain at times, certainly across the north. But still, once again, many areas of England and Wales by the afternoon will be mostly dry, with some bright, if not sunny spells. Temperatures down by a degree or two, so not feeling quite as warm in the south.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in, the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages. Because the news is going to happen. So get a head start today. Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition. Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live, and it is time now for the Great British Giveaway, and you have just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to win £60,000 cash and a gold bar in our summer celebrations. Here are all the details.
Welcome to All is Santi by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating a golden summer.
And you could be enjoying a golden year with an incredible £60,000 to be won.
That's tax-free cash that you'll get to spend on anything you like. What would you do with it?
You could relax knowing that we've got those day-to-day financial pressures sorted. Or find yourself celebrating in the lap of five-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Spritzeria. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 that you can keep or gift to a loved one. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck, folks. Today is VJ Day. It's the 81st anniversary when Japan formally surrendered to the Allied forces on August the 15th, 1945.
Yes, just like on VE Day, the British public took to the streets in celebration with large crowds gathering in London.
One of the last remaining D-Day veterans says that he is proud to have served his country and that the true heroes of the Second World War are those who served but never made it home.
Our reporter Anna Riley spoke to 102-year-old Jack Mortimer, who had a special message to share.
To Jack, big round of applause, everybody. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3, yay!
A celebration for one of Britain's last remaining D-Day veterans. 102-year-old Jack Mortimer bravely stormed Nazi-occupied beaches while under fire. The valiant dispatch rider was just 20 when he drove onto Sword Beach in Normandy in his Jeep as enemy mortar shells exploded around him. At a get-together in his Leeds care home, Jack looked back on that fateful day.
I landed in about 3 foot of water and I made it all right over. I made it all right on D-Day. There were guns going off and pistols shooting all over the place. And I don't know, I survived. I survived.
81 years ago to the day, Jack remembers the announcement on VJ Day.
At the stroke of midnight came the Prime Minister's dramatic message from the Cabinet Room at number 10.
Japan has today surrendered. The last of our enemies is laid low.
The anniversary was commemorated at the party.
It's sometimes classed as a forgotten conflict, but the sacrifices those people made out there, they had horrific conditions to deal with, and for those who have survived, we really do need to honour them and respect everything that they've done.
It's an honour for the Royal British Legion to thank veterans like Jack for the part he played in World War II.
It's wonderful to get to his age, it really is, and he's achieved so much and he's been with so many celebrities, you might say, and royalty as well. And he's a cheeky chappy at times, he really is.
For those who risked their lives to give us our freedoms, and to those who paid the ultimate price, we will remember. Anna Riley, GB News.
Thank you so much for that report, Anna. And if you go on the website, you can see more details that Anna picked up, including that Jack's fiancée, Flo, waited for him throughout the war, and they got married during his first period of leave, roughly 1 year after.
What a wonderful story. Talk about a life well lived. Well, still to come, a court confession. Louise.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's not just the UK where the heatwave comes to an end this weekend. Sunday's going to be much cooler across a large swathe of Europe compared with the week that has just been. And I'm talking about much of France, into Germany, Italy as well. It's been so hot recently, cooler air will be welcome news for many. There'll be thunderstorms, very lively thunderstorms through Central Europe, especially the Alps. They'll then move into Croatia and Greece throughout much of next week.
All All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Music, as anybody knows, from Scotland or Ireland, it is very, very important to us all here. Most of us can lift a musical instrument, and actually there's a great children's band on stage at the minute, but I've managed to capture some people here. Where are you from?
We're from Dungannon.
And why are you here at the Fla?
We're here just for the music, the atmosphere, and just the all-round celebration. It's a very proud moment for Belfast, and it's lovely to have the children out on their summer holidays. And I have a daughter who is playing and another one who's coming along to sing.
Well, let's hear you play. What are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play in the chair.
Well, go ahead.
Thank you.
The People's Channel, Dubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
People that have lived in London have chosen to move out because they don't feel... It's not about feeling safe as much. It's about feeling that they don't recognise London as the capital city of England anymore.
Well, I can't answer for those people. I mean, I think, you know, there are places all over the country that change. You know, there is a constant churn. There are parts of London that were once terribly, you know, poverty-stricken and that are now gentrified and are full of completely different places, to the point that local people, local communities have been squeezed out. There are places, you know, which have changed because the demographic changes. But, I mean, that happens everywhere.
You can say that about Bradford, you can say that about parts of Birmingham and these kind of things, some of these areas as well. But if you look at London, it's always been a bit of a melting pot.
Yeah.
It's the capital of a trading nation. It's why we have one of the best stock exchanges in the world, why we have the most investment, you know, foreign investment into this country.
The People's Channel. Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
Michelle, how do you feel when you look back at that 5 years there, from where we first started in and out of those lockdowns?
Well, I've got to say, hang on. I've got to, right, first things first. I've worked on live TV for half a decade and I still forget to talk into a microphone.
Easily done.
What can I say? Well, you look back on some of that and you actually forget some of the absolute ridiculousness that has gone on in the last 5 years. And I think you summed it up well. When you go back to that period of the lockdown, the ridiculous control, the enforced vaccine mandates, you could feel like you was just going mad in your own little world. And to me, GB News, we really, really came into our own.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Plenty of you getting in touch. gbnews.com/your say. Olivia, what stands out for you?
Yeah, very interesting one from someone going by the Wizard of Oz. Alarm. My daughter has just phoned me from England. I'm in Australia. She has said that most of her friends consider that the alarm yesterday was a total misuse of the system. She will be turning the alarm off in settings on her phone, and all of her friends are doing the same. She was on the M1 going into town, and there were cars swerving all over the road. I actually hadn't thought of people driving, but of course, that could be very, very dangerous indeed.
A friend of mine, Jeremy, was also, I think, on the M1. He said that he was watching it go off and was panicking, thinking, do I need to stop? Is my life at risk? Because when you think of the government alarm system, you associate it with maybe we're about to get bombed.
Absolutely. I mean, I was speaking to someone who spent some time in Israel, and the last time that he'd heard alarms like that was when there was a very real risk of a bombing, and it brings back quite scary memories, apart from anything else.
Yeah, other than it might be the case that there could be a wildfire near you, maybe not.
And just don't light a barbecue.
Don't light a barbecue, folks. Emergency alert. And they've been going off as well, later than the 7 p.m. People have been saying they've been going off at 10 o'clock or even today. They're delayed.
Mine went off at sort of 7:15, which I suppose it doesn't really matter whether you're lighting a barbecue at 7 or 7:15 in that case.
Wow.
But it doesn't say much for the system, does it?
That 15-minute window could have been critical. All right, it is 46 minutes past 11. Let's turn to news out of the United States. Luigi Mangione, he's admitted fatally shooting the US health insurance executive Brian Thompson.
Yes, he pleaded guilty in court to killing the United Healthcare boss, as well as 2 federal charges of stalking with the intent to kill.
Well, Mangione is due to be sentenced on the 18th of December. Let's speak now with the American journalist Nelson Aspen. Nelson, thank you very much for speaking to us. This has been quite an extraordinary legal case, hasn't it, the case of Luigi Mangione, because he has unfortunately been something of a cause célèbre for many on the left in the United States.
Well, that's what's just so despicable about this entire soap opera, is that he has been championed by so many, they call themselves Mangionistas, and they try to show their support. They donate to his legal cause. Interestingly, he did cop to the federal charges of stalking, although the terrorism charges were dropped. And that kind of astounds me, because terrorism, the very definition of it, is to cause fear, starting. But the most frustrating part, certainly it would be for the victim's family, is that the defense attorneys are, their calculation is that by Luigi pleading guilty to the stalking charges in the federal case will get him off the hook for the murder charges in the state case, which is scheduled to come up next month. Because New York State has very strict double jeopardy laws. And the defense attorney claims, her exact words were, it was a single tragic event, yet he's being persecuted twice for the same conduct. She's trying to paint the fact that he's unfairly treated, which is maddening, to say the least. So we have to wait and see if the state trial will actually go through in September. That may affect how the federal judge will sentence him in December. Right now, he's facing 25 years to life on the stalking charges, and if the murder charges go through in the state, he could look at another 25 years to life. It was a big victory for the defense that they got the death penalty option off the table, guys.
As you say, Nelson, Luigi Mangione has become a bit of a cause célèbre, and he's got all of these followers. Is there a risk that because of that, there could be copycat killings for people wanting their sort of moment in the sunshine?
I think there already have been. We've seen the repeated assassination attempts on our president. We've seen lots of political violence. And hey, I'm a New Yorker. I've got to go out of the building and walk down the street on the sidewalk. And if you can just walk down your own street or out of your hotel and risk being shot by someone you don't know, who you don't see, that says a lot about the state of the world. And you look at Luigi Mangione, they're making off-Broadway shows about him. They've got his face on T-shirts, and it is reminiscent when you think about the cult of the Manson family or Ted Bundy or the Menendez brothers. I mean, there is something about seeing a young man and the fervor that gets behind him, these groupies that follow him, and it's a very concerning time. We should all be very concerned and, keep our heads on a swivel.
And Nelson, you say we should all be concerned. I think everyone watching and listening to this will echo that perspective, especially with the spike in political violence we've seen in the United States, but also here in the UK and Europe as well. But what do you say to those who perhaps are on the left in American politics, but have been accused of not doing enough to dampen the celebrity and the support that Luigi Mangione has received?
This is the 2026 world in which we are living, where social media seems to rule. And this young man came from a very wealthy, privileged family in Maryland, where there was never a sign of trouble. He had a broken back at one point, and it had frustrations with the healthcare industry. I don't think there's a person in America who doesn't have frustrations with the healthcare industry. But just because you have a sore back doesn't mean you resort to violence against an executive in the company. This is the sad state of the world. I don't know what it's going to take to turn things around. We see it on the left. We see it on the right. I don't know. I would like to see tremendous enforcement, I think, is the answer. Culpability for the crimes.
Well, journalist Nelson Aspen, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Saturday Morning Live.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to have your company today. We'll be back again next week for more Saturday Morning Live, but don't go anywhere because Christo Fufas is up next with the weekend. Christo, lovely to see you, looking resplendent in blue.
Thank you very much.
What's
indeed.
coming up?
We're going to be talking about this emergency alarm, of course. I know you've touched on this, and I only want to hear from the government if there's a nuclear war. Thank you very much indeed. So we're going to be talking about that. Really interesting story about China, this potential threat on something that you use every single day could be spying on you and us. We're going to be reflecting on my sit down with the mother of PC, Andrew Harper.
Excellent interview.
As well, thank you. And talking about how 7 years ago to the day that this happened, with this petition now over 1 million signatures, how it could possibly be contemplated that these people are being released. We're joined by Ian Duncan-Smith as well about that China story and an amazing story about segregation and pools, which you will not want to miss. So all of that coming up.
Fantastic. Top man, Christo. We'll look forward to it. Right. Pleasure having your company. It's the weather now.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Another very warm and humid day across the south, possibly seeing some showers here later. Otherwise, it's another dry day for most, all thanks to a ridge of high pressure which is building from the west. Slight change in our wind direction as well, meaning for most areas it's not going to be quite as warm as some of the temperatures that we have had this week. A bit more cloud around perhaps, certainly across many northern areas. A few showers skirting their way eastwards across parts of Scotland, but otherwise mostly dry, plenty of sunshine, especially across the south. So still very warm here, temperatures in the high 20s, possibly even 30 degrees across the very far southeast, but otherwise temperatures more towards average for this time of year. Now, to finish off the day, there'll still be quite a few showers moving their way eastwards across Scotland, mostly light to moderate, and it should be largely dry across the far south of Scotland. The odd shower perhaps still across parts of Northern Ireland, otherwise mostly dry here, similar across northern parts of England, though probably quite a cloudy end to the day. Clearer skies across elsewhere in England and Wales, but still just the potential for the odd shower across the southeast to finish off the day. A chance we could hear some rumbles of thunder. If we do see any showers in the southeast, they're clear away, and it will turn dry for many areas. That's away from the west though, and further outbreaks of rain starting to push through here, so turning rather wet across parts of Northern Ireland, Scotland, northern parts of England and Wales as we head towards Sunday morning. And for all, it's not going to feel quite as warm and muggy overnight, so we're certainly going to notice a slightly cooler, fresher feel as we head our way into Sunday. Another difference on Sunday is it's probably going to be a bit more of a cloudier picture. This cloud will be thick enough to produce some spells of rain at times, certainly across the north. But still, once again, many areas of England and Wales by the afternoon will be mostly dry, with some bright, if not sunny spells. Temperatures down by a degree or two, so not feeling quite as warm in the south.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes.
You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner.
First of all, we want to give you
£60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Britain is not just a geographical expression,
We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good afternoon, it's midday on Saturday the 15th of August. This is The Weekend on GB News. Britain's phones sounded the alarm as wildfires tore across the country. Andy Burnham is urging members of the public not to light fires in Tinderbox Britain. The Prime Minister responded by banning disposable barbecues, promising firefighting aircraft and appointing a dedicated fire minister as crews brace for more disruption. But was the alert necessary? Did we really need the government to tell us this basic information via an alert meant for emergencies?
I realised how serious it was when I saw some of the images. Utterly devastating.
Meanwhile, Britain's farmers are going to be helped as they've faced the hottest July on record. But is this help too little, too late? After I sat down for an exclusive, in-depth conversation with